based on a conversation I actually had. And it's called Blind Man. And I was told not to preface my poems anymore, so I'm going to start saying it now. Last night I sat in a room with my father's friends and listened to men on average 3 times my age speak of the dreams they had had as children, and one by one how those dreams had been broken and changed. They explained how a tree and a plowed field and a game of basketball had been used to lead them to the pews of a church which they could have sworn had been torn down years before. And then they told me of the chances they all had to go to college. I was the only one in the room to ever actually go to college. The man sitting next to me had been blind since birth. He had never seen a human face, but somehow he still knew how to smile, and he smiled, crooked and sloppy, as he spoke of the way God had loved him, even through the pain of being teased in gym class, of being talked down to his whole life, of being told by his teachers for 12 years that his problem wasn't in his cloudy eyes, but in his heavy tongue and clumsy feet. He said it would be easy for people to assume that I'm stupid, because I've never read a magazine or climbed a tree or seen someone I love smiling back at me. Well, God had been loving him even through 12 years of teachers telling him he was retarded, and that's the only reason he could still smile, even if it was a little crooked and sloppy. I heard his heart climbing up into his throat as he told me of his mother, who had loved him and his healthy brother the exact same. And then he told me of the 250 acres his family could have bought for next to nothing. But all they had was nothing and each other was not legal tender. So without one trace of regret or pain, he showed me all of his scars. He told me how each one had been redeemed. He said, I would not be here today if I had never felt pain. But as deep as those regrets used to run, they don't really hurt me anymore. I mean, that pain has been displaced. It is still an awful thing, but a man died so that it might mean something. Listen, kid, I used to try and live my life inside of yesterday. I used to carry around these scars on display, safe inside of a trophy case. I would pretend to wince whenever someone touched them. I thought, if only my brother and I had been born with the other's eyes, if only things had been different, it might have been better. I mean, maybe we could have passed a normal life back and forth between us, like old women sharing a tooth. He always seemed so much stronger than me. Maybe he should have been the one to carry this weight. He said, I used to try and live my life inside of yesterday. But sometimes there is more pain in dreaming of heaven than in thanking God for the fragile things which we've been given. Sometimes we name our bitterness hope and let it choke us and let it close our outstretched hands into fists until we can barely even feel the weight of beauty inside of the things which we've been given. Listen, you can still buy them for next to nothing, but it's been a long time since I've been able to afford the dreams that this world says should populate my sleep. He said, I used to try and live my life inside of yesterday. But when I was 17, and the doctors took out both my eyes and my hopes of ever being able to see, I could only hope that God had something else for me. I would not be here today if I'd never felt that pain. I mean, it's still an awful thing, but a man gave his life so that it might mean something. And I can honestly say now, I would never have met God if the doctors hadn't made that mistake. Last night, a man born blind showed me his scars, carved on average 3 times deeper than mine, and he didn't even wince when I touched them. In fact, he trained my fingertips to read those jagged bumps and cuts like they were words printed on a page, and he said sometimes God uses our pain to bring us together, so we can read it to each other like Braille, he said. Believe me, there is beauty to be found even inside of a broken dream, and that is the only thing I've ever seen. And then he smiled, crooked and sloppy.